A new freshman arrived at Pablo's university, and during a party, one of his buddies teased him. "Pablo, there's this new freshman, soft-spoken and sweet. She totally looks like your girl." Pablo wrapped his arm around me indulgently, speaking with that usual lazy drawl. "Not even close. Don't talk nonsense." The group burst into laughter and whistles. "Pablo's totally whipped. He's head over heels for his girlfriend." Pablo chuckled. "Ever since I saw Luna in kindergarten, I said I'd marry her." Everyone groaned, saying it was way too sweet and they'd stop comparing anyone to me. It wasn't until half a month later that I realized. When Pablo said she wasn't like me, he meant in bed. Chapter 1. Back at the apartment we rented near campus, Pablo held me tightly over and over, whispering how much he loved me. Looking at the tipsy Pablo, I coaxed him softly. "Let's go to bed, okay?" But he just hugged me tighter and shook his head. Around midnight, I carefully pulled out my hand that had gone numb under his weight. Pablo's phone pinged a few times. Our phone passwords had always been each other's birthdays since years ago. We had nothing to hide. The latest message was from Pablo's group chat with his close friends. They were all just saying they'd gotten home safely. I tapped into the chat, and the message thread scrolled up automatically, revealing a photo. It showed a girl standing at the school gate, dragging a suitcase. She wore a light-colored t-shirt paired with a white lace skirt, showing off long, slender legs. Her jet black hair was tied in a high ponytail, and her small face, no bigger than a palm, framed a pair of sparkling eyes that smiled. She was, at first glance, beautiful and gentle-looking. Her features, if you looked closely, did slightly resemble mine. Then it hit me. This was the girl they had mentioned at the party. I turned back to look at the sleeping Pablo. His sharp features looked softer in sleep. His long lashes fluttered slightly, and he murmured my name in his dreams. I smiled, then went to take a shower. Just then, a black profile avatar popped up on Pablo's screen, sending a sticker with a pouty and aggrieved expression. I paused, then tapped into that person's moments. Only the past 3 days were visible, nothing shared. After a moment of hesitation, I took Pablo's phone with me into the bathroom. That account never sent another message, only a new post in their moments, a photo of the moon. The next morning, just before heading out, I reminded Pablo, "Don't forget to reply to the message from the black icon." His hand paused mid-motion as he ruffled my hair. Then he smiled naturally. "Oh, that? Just someone selling insurance on the street. I'll block them." As he spoke, he pulled out his phone and quickly deleted the contact. I didn't say anything. Seeing my silence, Pablo looked up. His long fingers slid around my waist. "Skipping class today? If you're not going, I can." I laughed and stepped back, dodging his hand. "No skipping, you go too." After I walked out the door, the smile on my face stiffened. Chapter 2. Pablo and I met in kindergarten. Our dads were co-workers, and that year, I was brought to the city from the countryside. The first time we met, Pablo instantly liked me and shouted that he wanted me to be his wife. The adults from both families laughed. His dad asked me if I'd marry Pablo. I looked at the boy who was half a head taller than me and shook my head, crying. Pablo panicked and brought me lots of snacks to cheer me up. "I'll treat you well. I'll give you everything. Please don't cry." Later, through elementary school, middle school, and high school, we were always together. He was always a top student and came to my house every day in junior high to tutor me. Back then, Pablo would sigh and say I wasn't dumb, just lazy. Then he'd casually ruffle my hair. "Luna, you've got to work harder. Otherwise, how will you get into no 1 high?" I'd keep my head down doing practice tests and mumble, "Then I'll go to no 2 high. No big deal." Pablo would get anxious. "That's not okay." By then, he was already over 180 meters tall. When he got worked up, he accidentally hit his leg on the desk and winced in pain. I immediately dropped my pen, stopped teasing, and promised to try harder. In high school, we were placed in different classes, but the moment the bell rang, Pablo would come find me. We ate together, went home together, and studied together. In sophomore year, Pablo had a dream university in mind. He asked what I thought, wanting to decide together. Looking at information online, I told him I wanted to go to Deep City, but not to the same university as him. Pablo didn't speak to me for a whole week. When I tried to comfort him, he finally said, "Luna, I'm not mad. I just feel like I wasn't in your plan." I quickly denied it. "Of course you are. You're my best friend. If you want to go to Deep City, I can consider going to Sea City or Harbor City instead." His cold expression finally broke into a smile. We agreed to apply to universities in Deep City, different schools, but close by. Everything went smoothly: college entrance exams, graduation, acceptance letters from our dream schools. At the start of freshman year, Pablo confessed to me, and we naturally became a couple. In sophomore year, he said he couldn't sleep well in the dorm, so he rented an apartment near my school. I moved in with him. Pablo, always a fast learner, taught himself to cook after I moved in. Every weekend, he'd make soup and meals. Even our friends and family said we were a perfect match. Even our internships, both of us were planning to stay in Deep City. It felt like graduation and marriage were just the next steps. I used to believe that, too, until that sticker message last night, and Pablo's subtle change in behavior. Chapter 3. After a full day of classes, I asked Pablo before the last bell if he wanted to eat out tonight. He replied quickly, reporting to my wife, "Marco just got dumped and needs a drink. I'm going with him." Marco was his roommate. I replied okay. Pablo sent me a photo of a dish, spicy boiled beef slices. I rushed back to cook this. "It's in the pot. Warm it up, baby." I had casually mentioned wanting to eat that a few days ago. I put away my phone and headed to a new fruit store behind Pablo's school. There was a discount going on. Just as I reached the corner, I saw Marco, with his dyed blonde hair, sitting on a motorcycle, grinning as he talked on the phone. He looked like he was waiting for someone. I walked over and greeted him. He was startled. "Oh, hi, Luna." I smiled and nodded. "Heading out?" He let out a breath in relief. "Yeah, I was just on my way to find Pablo. Bumped into you first." Then he checked his phone and said he was in a rush before riding off. I stood there, staring in the direction he'd gone. A moment later, a girl came out of a nearby shop. She looked around, muttering, "That's weird. Where did he go?" Then she turned to me. "Excuse me, did you see a blonde guy on a motorcycle?" I nodded. "You mean Marco? He just rode off." She blinked. "You know Marco?" "I'm his roommate's girlfriend, Luna." She quickly nodded, then called Marco with an angry face. "Are you kidding me? I just went to grab something and you left me behind?" I glanced at my phone. Pablo had just sent me a sweet little video update. I chuckled to myself. Chapter 4. As soon as I got back to our rental apartment and started heating up the food, Pablo came rushing in. He looked a little flustered, threw his phone on the table, and hugged me from behind. "Marco's such a jerk," he said, half laughing. Said he wanted to drink and vent, but his ex dragged him away before I even got there. Then he lowered his head and looked at my face, his voice soft. "Next time." I'm ignoring him. I hummed in response and asked, "You wanna eat?" Pablo's eyes lingered on my face. I smiled and gently pushed his chest. "What's wrong?" Seeing nothing unusual on my face, he smiled. "I'll heat it up." After dinner, Pablo went to shower, but he took his phone with him to the bedroom. Standing by the bathroom door, I told him, "My clubmate called, there's a last-minute meetup. I'm heading out for a bit." Pablo opened the bathroom door, revealing his toned, dripping upper body. His wet bangs clung to his forehead, and the water ran down his sharp jawline. "Babe, wait for me, I'll come with you." "No need. It's just girls." Pablo smiled gently. "Okay, message me when it's almost over. I'll pick you up." "Sure." But after leaving, I hid around the corner of the hallway and waited. 10 minutes later, I saw Pablo walk out, wearing a baseball cap. He was speaking coldly on the phone. "Same place. You've got 15 minutes. Expressionless. I watched him go downstairs. I took a taxi and followed him to a nearby hotel called Stranger. After about 20 minutes, I called him. "I'm not feeling well. My stomach's acting up. I'm heading home." Pablo's voice turned tense. "Babe, where are you?" "I'm coming to get you. I'm almost there, just walking back now." He exhaled sharply. Wait for me at the convenience store downstairs. I'll be right there. I returned first and sat at the convenience store, swinging my legs and looking up at the dark sky. This was the second time. How many more times can someone tolerate secrets hidden in the dark? Pablo came running. When he saw me curled up in the chair, holding my stomach, he frowned in concern. He rubbed his hands together to warm them, then gently placed them over my belly. Babe, let's go to the hospital. I shook my head and sighed. Probably something bad I ate at lunch. Pablo. I want to go home. Still worried. He bought some medicine from the pharmacy next door and carried me back on his back. That night, he kept waking up, asking if I was okay. Each time, he'd subconsciously glance at his phone. I stared blankly at the ceiling. It hurt a lot at first, but it's getting better. It will get better, he said firmly. Since then, Pablo stopped letting me eat at school. After class, he'd rush home to cook lunch and bring it to me, even though the schools and our apartment weren't far. Running back and forth twice a day, cooking both lunch and dinner, left him no free time. He was so busy that when people couldn't find him, they came to me instead. That Friday, our club organized a small joint gathering for students from both universities. While going through the list of attendees, I saw a name, Misty, Chapter 5. That night, I asked Pablo to come with me. About a dozen students from both schools showed up, most of them single. Everyone was dressed up, youthful and vibrant, except Misty. She wore no makeup and had on a slightly oversized white dress. Her slender waist was subtly hidden beneath the fabric, just barely visible. Her long black hair hung loosely around her shoulders, with a matching white hair clip holding it back. Her look was casual, but in a group of carefully styled students, it made her stand out even more. What stood out the most? She wore the exact same hair clip as I did. I overheard a classmate whisper, "Misty kinda looks like Luna, doesn't she?" Pablo didn't glance at her once. Instead, he leaned close to ask me what else I wanted to eat. Misty sat all the way at the end of the table, furthest from Pablo. While they played party games, Pablo and I sat off to the side chatting. At one point, he interlaced his fingers with mine, smiled dotingly, and looked only at me. Then Misty raised her voice from across the room. "Let's play truth or dare. Drinking is boring." Everyone burst into laughter. One guy teased her. "You sure? Don't back out later." Misty took a sip of her drink. "I won't." I casually let go of Pablo's hand and sat up straight. "Pablo, what kind of dares do they usually give?" I asked. He leaned in close, his lips brushing my ear. "Nothing fun. Not as interesting as you, baby." I nudged him, laughing. "Stop messing around." Then someone called on Misty. She had to kiss the fifth guy to her left. The whole room erupted. That guy was Gabriel, shy-looking, with glasses. He happened to be sitting right next to Pablo, face turning bright red. Gabriel stammered, maybe I'll just drink for her. Same as kissing, right?" But the others weren't having it. Misty glanced in my direction. "No worries. If he doesn't want to, someone else can do it. But I'm not backing out." I said dare. Then Gabriel stuttered again. I'm fine with it. I'm okay." The teasing grew louder. Gabriel looked completely overwhelmed as Misty stood up and slowly made her way over. Pablo didn't even flinch. He shifted closer to me, making room for the two of them to sit down. Misty paused to glance at me. "Luna, are you playing the next round?" I shook my head with a smile. "I'm sitting out." Then she turned her eyes on Pablo. "What about you?" Pablo looked up, his voice cool. "We've got plans later." Misty gave a little and smiled. "Wow, you two are really relationship goals." Others joined in the teasing. "Of course. Pablo only has eyes for Luna. He's totally whipped." "Huh?" Pablo chuckled and answered. "Yeah, whipped." Then someone called out to Misty. "Stop stalling. Let's go with the dare already." She turned back to Gabriel, took a seat between Pablo and Gabriel, and then leaned in to kiss Gabriel full on the lips. The room exploded with cheers and laughter. Pablo shifted again, subtly moving closer to me, carefully avoiding even the slightest contact with Misty. His face? Completely unreadable, not even a flicker of interest. Misty noticed. Her face paled. She drank a lot that night. Chapter 6. By the time the party ended, most people had already left. We stepped outside and saw Gabriel carefully supporting a very drunk Misty. Misty pushed him away in disgust. Gabriel spotted us and walked over nervously. Senior. Misty's had too much to drink. Could you both please escort her home? He looked at Pablo for confirmation. Pablo's expression instantly turned cold and impatient. We don't have time, he snapped. Then he glanced at his watch. Movie time's coming up. We'll just grab a cab home. Every Friday night without fail. Pablo and I nestle on the sofa to watch a movie. It's our cozy tradition, one we both cherish. Misty started weeping, tiny raindrops mixing with her tears. I spoke softly. Pablo, please go with Gabriel and get her back safely. It's late and she's a girl alone, unsafe. Pablo frowned. Then you come with us. We'll come back later. I opened my umbrella. I'm tired, just go ahead. I'll get home and wait for you. I hailed a cab. Pablo saw me in and reminded me to text him when I got home. Gabriel followed suit, supporting Misty into his taxi. Pablo got into the front passenger seat, ignoring them both, watching them drive away. I told the driver to switch routes, heading for that boutique hotel we sometimes pass near campus, quiet, clean, and slightly pricey. 5 minutes later, Pablo and company pulled up. Gabriel helped a sobbing Misty out under the steamy rain. Pablo remained silent in the front seat. Misty, unhinged now, screamed, Pablo, get out! Get out! I swear I'll go find Luna if you don't. Gabriel tried to intervene but was shoved aside. He fell hard, scraping his hand bleeding onto the pavement. I remained hidden, silent. Misty turned and staggered toward the street. Fine, go ahead. If you don't come, I'll go find Luna right now. In that instant, Pablo leaped out angrily, clamping his hand over Misty's mouth and dragging her into the hotel. Gabriel stood there in shock, then followed them up. Misty was crying and pleading inside room 608, while Pablo's voice remained cold and restrained. Rumors of his harshness. I held a recording pen, my hand icy as I documented every word. Then, muffled gasps and angry low breaths followed. I gagged. Outside, I barely made it to the trash bin before vomiting. A sympathetic stranger offered me a tissue. I looked up. Gabriel stood there, bandaging his bleeding hand. Thanks, he mouthed quietly. He followed me home. At the apartment lobby, I asked if he had any concerns. He hesitated, then mumbled, I was worried you might snap. I laughed almost bitterly. Life isn't about one person. There are so many other things, like my internship. Just yesterday I accepted an offer halfway across the country. Great pay, great opportunity, the best in the industry. Gabriel looked puzzled. I looked him in the eye. One should love someone who's truly worth it. He managed a small, sad smile. I'm not like you guys. I'm not handsome or impressive. I don't deserve Misty. I responded gently. Whether you're worth it isn't up to Misty or me. It depends on you and the effort you're willing to put in. Gabriel was surprised, thoughtful. I turned to retrieve some stickers, toothbrush, towel, items Pablo and I had planned to use tonight, and threw them in the bin. Then I quickly packed my suitcase. I saw that Pablo had messaged me, probably forgot the time. Only half an hour had passed. He must really be anxious to come back. I left a breakup note and the recorder behind, muted his messages, and dragged my suitcase and trash out. At the door, I dumped everything into the dumpster, then blocked Pablo after getting into a rideshare. That night, I left both his texts and calls unread, even as he switched numbers to call me again. Eventually, I switched my phone off, and the world finally got quiet. Chapter 7. The next day, I took the earliest high-speed train to Lucheng. The very first thing I did after getting off was to get a new SIM card and remove the old one. After meeting with HR, I made a call to my parents from the stairwell in the hallway of the company. I told them that Pablo and I had broken up, and I asked them not to contact him or share anything about me. My mom immediately sensed something was wrong. She kept sighing over and over. Before my dad could ask anything else, she grabbed the phone. If you broke up, then that's it. I trust that our daughter had her reasons. You old fool. Stop asking questions. Just send her more money to keep her safe. That's more important than anything. My dad quickly chimed in. Yes, Luna, Check your account. I'll transfer you some money when you look for a place to live in Lucheng. Pick a busy area, okay? Stay safe. And if you ever run short on money, let us know right away. I held back tears and gave a soft okay before quickly hanging up. But as soon as I did, I broke down and began to cry quietly. Suddenly, a pair of legs appeared in front of me. Startled, I looked up and met a pair of eyes as deep as ink. The man wore a black custom-tailored suit. He was at least 188 meters tall. His face was sharply defined, his features striking, and his entire presence exuded a cold, commanding aura. He stood above me, looking down. He spoke, his voice low and pleasant. "I'm in a meeting. You're making too much noise." Only then did I notice a stack of documents placed on the stairwell below me. I quickly wiped away my tears and stood up. "Sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you. I'll leave right away." He let out a low and then asked, "Which department are you from?" I remembered HR's Monica had said interns would rotate through departments, and I hadn't finished the onboarding process yet. "I'm a new intern. I haven't completed the full entry procedures yet," he repeated softly. "Intern?" He didn't ask anything else and turned to head downstairs. Later that day, following Monica's recommendation, I rented a duplex apartment near the company. I spent the night unpacking and started my first official day of work the next morning. Monica explained that the interns were still on rotation. Since the CEO's assistant had fallen ill, I would be temporarily assigned to fill in. "The CEO?" I asked. Monica replied, "Yes, the boss likes peace and quiet, people who don't talk much. I think you're a good fit. Just fill in for a while. If you run into any problems, feel free to reach out to me." I nodded. Okay. When I arrived at the president's office, someone walked me through the basics and daily routines. In a spare moment, I looked up information about the group's CEO, Eric. I found out he was currently 26 years old and had returned from abroad a few years ago to take over the family business. He was known in the business world for being ruthless and decisive, a truly formidable man. Other than that, there wasn't much, even online. Information about him was scarce. 6 days passed, and Eric never appeared at the office. Meanwhile, back at school, my dorm mate messaged me. She said Pablo seemed completely unhinged, asking everyone about me and looking very unstable. There was also a guy at Pablo's school named Gabriel who had been telling people that Pablo and I had broken up. The news got back to Pablo, and he went and beat Gabriel up, landing both of them at the police station. My dorm mate asked me what had happened between Pablo and me. I told her the truth. We broke up. Chapter 8. On the 7th day, just before getting off work, I received a message from Monica. She said Eric had an important meeting that evening and asked me to deliver some documents. I got the address and realized it was a banquet. The meeting room was on the 3rd floor. When I arrived at the designated location, the door was shut and there were people standing guard outside. After some communication, someone called Eric and told me to hand the documents to the guy at the door. I had no idea how long I waited before people finally started exiting the meeting room one by one. In the middle of the group was a tall man, surrounded by others. His black dress shirt had a few buttons undone, revealing a sharp collarbone. He had striking, commanding features, strong brows, deep eyes. When he noticed me looking, he glanced over calmly before walking past in a hurry. People around him were calling him boss left and right. My heart skipped a beat. It was the man from the stairwell that day. He was Eric. And here I was, a brand new hire, leaving this kind of first impression. I didn't even know how much he overheard that day. With a quiet sigh, I followed the crowd outside. I watched as everyone escorted him into his car. Once it pulled away, I finally relaxed. But as I walked toward the intersection, the car made a U-turn and came back. Eric rolled down the window and looked at me. "Are you the new assistant?" I didn't react right away. Eric raised an eyebrow. "Yes, sir. Where do you live?" "At Luonan Apartments." He nodded. "Get in. There are no buses running this late." Only then did I realize it was already past 11 p.m. I thanked him and got in. To my surprise, Eric lived in the same building as me, Luonan Apartments. He had a penthouse on the 26th floor. I lived on the 9th. In the elevator, Eric looked down at his phone and casually asked, "Luna?" "Yes, sir, that's my name." Come up with me tonight. His tone was light, almost indifferent, like he was assigning routine work. Eric turned off his phone screen and looked at me. There are some documents that need organizing. Don't worry. There's overtime pay. I nodded almost immediately. This apartment was in a great location, close to work, but the rent was high. After greeting him, I went home, took a shower, changed into something casual, and headed up to the 26th floor. His suite took up the entire floor. It was so big I nearly got lost in it. While he showered, I moved some documents from the master bedroom to the living room to begin organizing them. Following the notes left by the previous assistant, I sorted them bit by bit according to Eric's preferences. It wasn't difficult, but it did require careful attention. Suddenly, my phone rang, breaking the silence. It was a number from Luching. I hung up, but it rang again. This new number was known only to my parents and HR Monica. I glanced at the bathroom. Eric was still showering. I answered quietly. Hello? Who is this? The person didn't speak. Only shallow breathing came through. Just as I was about to hang up, a pale and fragile voice broke the silence, hoarse and painful. Luna, don't hang up, please. I know I messed up. I'm a bastard. A scumbag. But can you please let me explain? I swear it's not what you think. This whole week, I've been going insane. No one could tell me where you were. I cut him off quietly. Pablo, I don't want to know the truth anymore. If the betrayal and cheating were real, then the reasons no longer matter. Pablo panicked and started crying, trying to hold it in. Luna, I was wrong, please. I came to Luching. Can I see you, just once? That's all I ask. I'll explain everything. I heard the shower stop. I tensed up. Pablo, it's pointless now. We've broken up. He took a breath, unwilling to give up. Luna, a breakup isn't valid unless both people agree. I don't accept it. I asked softly. So, you cheated and still expect us to have a future? It's impossible. Pablo, don't call AG. Luna. The bathroom door opened with a soft click, and Eric's deep voice came at the same time. I turned to see him walking out, his robe loosely tied around his waist, exposing his firm chest. He was casually drying his hair, the scent of his body wash lingering in the air. He sat on the sofa across from me and looked directly at me. The hair dryer's broken. Call the front desk for a new one. Okay. I replied quickly. Then I looked at my phone. The call was still connected. Pablo's angry, panicked voice came through. Luna, where are you? Who is that man? I immediately hung up and shut off the phone. I wanted to explain to Eric, but he leaned back lazily and took a sip of wine. Go call about the hairdryer first. It's really broken. Okay. It took me 2 hours to finish organizing the documents. My back was sore. Eric sat by the window drinking the whole time. Luna, done? Come have a drink. Sir, I don't really drink. Eric chuckled softly. Come on, young people. A drink helps with heartbreak. He placed a glass next to me and gestured for me to join. Seeing my hesitation, he spoke slowly. What? Are you afraid of me? No, it's just that I really... He gave a tipsy little laugh. What? Afraid I'm interested in you? I finished organizing the files and walked over. It wasn't that I was afraid of Eric, I just knew I couldn't handle alcohol well. Once I sat down, Eric didn't push me to drink. Instead, he asked me what plans I had for my future in the company. I briefly shared my thoughts. He looked out the window and said, not bad. After your rotation ends, there might be opportunities. I'll work hard. I said earnestly. Eric's words helped calm my emotions a bit. His voice was low as he suddenly said, that ex of yours, he's going to come back. If you want a clean break, you need to crush all his hope, boss. Don't worry, I won't let him affect my work. Do you want him to give up quickly? If I stayed in Shin City, Pablo would keep pestering me, never giving up. Since I chose to leave, I had no intention of dragging this out. Eric turned around. His profile was sharp and defined, and his deep gaze swept over me. His lips curled slightly. Let him see himself completely crushed. Break what's left of his ego, so badly that he disappears on his own. Boss, are you suggesting? Luna, I'll be blunt. My family's pressuring me to get engaged. I need someone to help me deal with it. And you? You just happen to need someone to handle your ex. I didn't reply. I left in silence. Chapter 9. After a few more days at work, Eric came by every day. Whenever there was a meeting, he took me along. In just a short time, I was exposed to a whole new world. But occasionally, I overheard the old lady urging him to get married, setting up blind dates. Eric would casually brush her off. "Grandma, not now. I'm too busy lately." After work one evening, just as I was about to shut my apartment door, someone blocked it. I looked up and saw Pablo, his face pale, eyes red. Tears streamed down, and he looked like a broken puppet on the verge of falling apart. Seeing me, he slowly reached out and murmured, "Luna." I took a deep breath and stepped back. "There's nothing left to say. Please leave." I tried to close the door, but Pablo forced his way in and clung to me, burying his head in my neck. Soon, my collar was soaked with his tears. He said nothing, just held me tightly, refusing to let go. I sighed and spoke, exhausted. "Pablo, I really don't have the energy to deal with this. Work is exhausting. I have to stay up late finishing reports." He sniffled. "I understand. Luna, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just beg you, don't ignore me. Let me start over. I swear, no more other women. Never again." I ignored him and asked, flatly, what it would take for him to leave. He pulled me to the sofa and handed me a printed file. It was a document of every conversation and detail of how he met Misty. Expressionless, I scanned the pages. That familiar sting in my chest, I forced it down, focusing on the work I still had to finish tonight. Pablo kept rambling beside me. He said he met Misty right after her first year began. He was at a party in the suburbs, invited by his cousin. For fun, they called some girls to drink with them. Misty was one of them, working part-time at a karaoke bar. Pablo usually doesn't care about other people's business, but when he saw Misty being forced to drink, her face resembling mine, he stepped in to help. That night, she stayed by his side, drinking. He got too drunk to remember much. All he recalled was waking up next to her. At the time, he didn't think it mattered. He just treated her like a fling, a way to pass time. I had been with Pablo for 3 years. We kissed and hugged often, but I was too reserved, too shy. When things got serious, I always held back. Misty was different. She knew how to please him. Looking at her face, so similar to mine, Pablo admitted every time. He treated her as a stand-in, until the day he saw her at school and realized we were attending the same university. He immediately said it was over. But Misty wouldn't agree. I closed my eyes. Listening to Pablo's voice, my stomach churned. Sensing my reaction, he softened his tone. "Luna, please believe me, I don't have a single feeling for Misty." I slowly opened my eyes. "Hearing you say that actually makes me feel more disgusted. What are you trying to say? Are you implying physical infidelity doesn't count?" I looked at him, his face was unfamiliar, like he was a stranger. Why? Was it novelty, curiosity, or just base desire? Once, I believed even if others cheated, Pablo wouldn't. He panicked, grabbed my hand, but I recoiled in disgust. "Don't touch me." Suddenly, there was a loud knock at the door. The main door wasn't fully closed. I rose and saw Eric standing at the entrance, looking casually at me and extending his hand. Noting my confusion, he smiled softly, took my wrist, and led me inside. Pablo saw us and instantly went pale. Veins bulged in his clenched fist as he hissed, "Who is he?" Eric gently smiled and spoke calmly. "I'm Luna's boyfriend." Eric. My body tensed. Pablo's face lost all color. Red veins danced in his eyes. Shock etched on his features. "Are you taking revenge?" He spat. Eric wrapped an arm around me in a protective, almost possessive gesture and said coldly, "I know what happened between you two. Since you're an ex, I'd rather you didn't show up here again." Pablo exploded with rage. "Who the hell are you to tell me not to come?" Before he lunged, a few bodyguards rushed forward. Despite his strength, they managed to restrain him after taking several punches. He glared at me with fury. Unruffled, Eric chuckled. Let me finish. I'm Eric from Lou Group. This apartment complex was built by my company. Unless something changes, this is your last appearance here. As the guards led him away, Eric pulled me close, his breath warm against my ear, sounding intimate. Yet his words were coldly firm. Go to the 26th floor and finish the documents. I nodded silently, still reeling from the tension. Chapter 10. On the modest sofa, Eric sat composedly on one side. Pablo, defeated and hollowed out, slumped on the other. Eric shed his polite demeanor. His tone was icy, sharp as razors. You knew you stood no chance, so why humiliate yourself by showing up? Trust me, maybe you'll be the one attending her funeral someday. A low chuckle escaped him. Look how dirty you sound. She's probably already washed her hands of you. Pablo's expression reddened, his clenched fists cracking joints with tension. This is between me and Luna, none of your business. Eric snorted softly. Is it? Does she know I've asked her to marry me? You're lying, Pablo screamed, lunging to stand, but the bodyguards pinned him back. Eric smirked. Oh, I'm lying? I can give Luna a perfect wedding, a prestigious career, power. He turned to glare coldly. And what can you give her? Staring down, Eric continued, someone to cheat with, then shamelessly feed her your lies? Pablo grew pale, clenching his jaw, but stayed silent. Eric rose, heading toward the door. Throwing away Luna for your base desires, pathetic. Pablo snarled. You think you're special? We're all men. One day, you'll cheat too. Eric paused mid-step, turned with a fierce calm. I won't waste my time on someone who doesn't matter. Chapter 11. When Eric accompanied me back to his suite, I was nervous, fearing Pablo might have done something drastic. He assured me everything was handled. I nodded wordlessly. Eric went to his desk and glanced at my work. Luna, I asked you to work late, and you've barely made a dent? Yes. I'm sorry. I'll get right back to it. He paused, then said, when you're done, take me out to dinner. After tonight, I owe you that much. I sat at the computer. Of course, boss. Thank you for waiting. Over dinner. Eric explained he acted swiftly to settle the matter, so I could focus on what really matters. He added, want help dealing with my grandmother later? I don't have those romance novel clauses here, no forced cohabitation. He said lightly, with me, you can opt out anytime. Beyond money, you'll gain capability. My gaze flicked while I ate pasta as he continued thoughtfully. There are more important things in life than men and drama. Not many people share your wavelength. Consider this friendship. I looked up, meeting his steady gaze, and quietly replied, all right. Chapter 12. 2 years later, I became the department head at the corporation. Life was exhausting, hectic, but fulfilling. In May, Gabriel came in for an interview. He looked much more confident, spoke fluently, and passed the interview easily. It wasn't surprising he got hired. He was delighted to see me again. During lunch, Gabriel chatted about funny things that happened back in Chin City, deliberately avoiding any mention of Misty and Pablo. But I had heard the story long ago. Gabriel and Misty grew up together. Misty's family wasn't well off, and Gabriel had always helped her. Even when preparing for college entrance exams, Gabriel tutored her all the way. Then once they got into university, Misty started earning her own money through part-time jobs. That's when she drew a clear line between them. Gabriel looked at me and said, Senior, you're different from before. How so? He crossed his arms. You feel different. It's only been 2 years, but now, you seem. He hesitated, and I chuckled. More scheming? Gabriel laughed. Of course not. You're more beautiful, more confident, more radiant. After laughing, he added, back then, when Pablo went home, someone spread rumors that I'd latched onto the company's CEO. They said I climbed the ladder by hooking up with a rich man. Gabriel scoffed. Do they even know what it means to rely on someone? In this world, who doesn't? Who hasn't used some connection or resource? Why should that only apply to women? Even those who start from scratch need help from benefactors. Isn't that relying too? And if you're useless, no one would help you anyway. Chapter 13. After lunch, I arranged for Gabriel to move into the apartment and helped him settle in. That evening, I had dinner with Eric. He got 15 phone calls during the meal. Seeing me relaxed, he hinted, "Luna, there's a new project in the northern sector. Want to go?" I nodded seriously. Yes. Eric reached over and pinched my cheek. Good. Take the new guy with you. Let him learn something. I calculated. That'll take at least a year, Eric replied. More like a year and a half if things go smoothly. Don't worry, I don't like long distance. I already had our new office over there fast-tracked for use. Everyone's moving. I looked at him and asked, "Boss, is this huge investment because you don't trust me?" He squeezed my hand. Heartless, I just miss you. Then Eric sat next to me and said, "After being hurt, I need a little comfort." Feigning ignorance, I asked, "What kind of comfort, boss?" He pointed at his left cheek. I sighed and gave him a kiss, but he turned, and it landed right on his lips, cold and soft. Eric's voice was husky. "Luna, after the Northern project is over, will you marry me?" I replied while multitasking. "We'll see." He kissed me deeply. We'll see." Half an hour later, I murmured, "Are we done kissing? I have something to tell you." He moved back, breath warm on my lips. "Who is it now?" I said seriously. "Did you hear? That guy and that spoiled heiress got back together again." He hugged me tighter and shook his head. "Forget them. The bodyguard downstairs, is he quitting?" Eric grinned and silenced me with another kiss. "Babe, later. Let's talk later." I gave up struggling. "Fine, later it is, if we talked now. We'd be up all night." Eric went on a 2-week business trip after that. We were both too busy to see each other. I had so much to tell him when he got back. Eric bit me gently and whispered, "Be good. Focus." I smiled with determination.